Hello everyone, Lily here, and I hope I sound better to you. I have my old microphone back, so I will not be as quiet as before, I can assure you. And if you hear any background noise, that is my cat. That noise was not previously picked up on my clip-on microphone, so please excuse that. There's nothing I can do about that. She just feels like running around the room. So today I'm going to be doing a map ranking video, and I haven't done something like this before. I've done gun rankings, but nothing like this, and I am doing it in a tier format. So if you're familiar with the tier meme, this is that, except for this is not a meme. This is legitimate thoughts that I have about the maps, and not just a silly thing. I don't know if anyone's done a map ranking. I haven't seen one myself, and as far as the placements go, I've been kind of pondering over this for a couple days now. I've changed my mind on some things, I've changed some stuff around, and I could definitely see certain arguments for putting certain maps in different tiers. So let's just get into it now with what I have at the moment. My opinions might change later, who knows. And I will note that I do not have jungle or elevation in this because they were added so soon that I have not had a chance to really play either of them. Jungle I have literally played once, and I can't form an opinion off of that. I like elevation, but I don't have enough experience on the map to really make a solid claim about it. So those are left out. Feel free in the comments to let me know what you think about those maps and where you would place them. So I will start with S tier. First, I have Desert Storm, and these maps are in no particular order in the categories, in the tiers. So just because a map is before another map doesn't necessarily mean that I think it's way better, and vice versa. So Desert Storm is the first map I have put down here, and I think many will agree with me that Desert Storm is the best map in the game, and if it's not the best, it's one of the best. I don't see anyone talk poorly about this map. It's very good. The sides are fair and it allows for different kinds of combat, but for me at least, I snipe on it, and that's what I really like about it. And the sightlines on it are good but not overpowered, so they can be countered. So if I'm trying to get an OP sightline, I have to fight for it, and I can be punished if I overextend or play too aggressively or something like that. So I think that the map is pretty balanced, and I only ever see it get broken by bad team balance where spawn killing ultimately happens. I feel like I used to see spawn killing happen more on the map, but now I don't as much. Next up, I have Bazaar, and I know that people are not gonna like my pick to put Bazaar in the S tier, but I can't think of anything that is wrong with the map. The only reason that I could see people not liking it is purely out of personal taste, rather than the map being bad, because the map is good in my opinion, and although it's not an original idea, it is solid, and it allows for a mix of playstyles if you want. Sniping and long range combat are kinda hard to get somewhat, you have to play kinda conservatively if you want to snipe, which, for some people, maybe that's okay. One of the things that I like about Bazaar as well is that it's definitely a battle, it's a brawl, and there's a lot of back and forth, and there's just a lot of fighting to be had, and I really enjoy that from a map. I enjoy when it gets kind of scrappy, kind of competitive, where it's just it is just a bloodbath, and that's what I get when I play Bazaar. I don't know about other people, but that's just something that I really like from a map. People seem to enjoy it as well. People vote for it frequently, and it seems to be popular, although like I said, I do see people talk down on this map. But yeah, I have found the map very fun to play on, and I think that the community also kind of feels that way as well. Moving on to the A tier, the first map I have here is Crane Sight, and I had this in B at first, but then I moved it to A, and I think that it is one good update away from being S tier, because I know that the community really loves this map, and I do too. It's fun to play on, but the Phantom side is more often the one to get spawn killed frequently, as it's easy to camp their spawn, and this is even when team balance is good. So that's an issue to me. I think that if the Phantom side of the map was redone, I would be happy. The game mode placements are also kind of weird. The hill is definitely in a placement that, in my opinion, gives an advantage to the ghost side. But other than that, the map is good. I suppose that you could hate on the map if you hate when people go on the crane, but in my opinion, those people are just free kills, so they can go on the crane all they want. Next up, I have Ravid, and like Bazaar, this isn't a completely original idea, but it's still a very fun map. The revamp kind of like messed some stuff up in my opinion. Timing from the spawns and then going to the roofs is kind of off, so like one side, I believe the phantom side, is able to get to their roof first because they spawn directly next to the ladder, whereas the ghosts have to like run to the ladder. So like when you are climbing up the ladder or just when you get onto your roof as a ghost, the phantoms are like already on the roof and they are already taking aim at you. You might not even get up the ladder, so that's a timing thing that I wish was maybe tweaked a bit. It is not very versatile as far as playstyles go. Generally, to me, I think this is like a sniping map. You can use sniper rifles, DMRs, LMGs, assault rifles. I wouldn't really see someone using a shotgun or an SMG on this map because the combat doesn't really call for that, but still, all of the game modes mostly on this are fun. I can't think of a game mode that I really don't enjoy on this map. Even Capture the Flag is fun on this map. Kill confirmed might be a little weird just because of like the range, where like if you kill someone on the opposite roof, it's kind of hard to get their tag, but that's just the nature of the map. And I really enjoy that the map is a battle for the rooftops, like we are fighting for control of the rooftops, and that back and forth to me is really fun. Next up in B tier, I have Highway Lot, and this map would be an A if the revamp was pulled off better. While the revamp did good for the map, I think it still needs to be tweaked a little bit just to satisfy me at least. I think the spawns could be tweaked a little bit. I think some more cover in certain areas could be added, especially like in the open areas where like you're crossing the street or something like that, and you know, you don't want to just get shot because it's all open. Like that's one of the parts where for the ghost spawn, the big building that you spawn in can be kind of tricky to get out of because there's not a lot of cover trying to get out of there. And then same thing with the other spawn. The buildings are kind of isolated, so like you can kind of get spawn trapped from enemies that have cover while you don't. Your cover is basically just the spawn building, and that's not very optimal. So yeah, I think tweaking like that could be beneficial for the map. But other than that, I find the map really fun to play on. Fun game modes. King of the Hill is one of my favorite modes to play on this map. Like, it is seriously so much fun for me because it is a brawl, it is a bloodbath, and like I am here for that. One other aspect of the map that I think could be improved is the map boundaries, or lack thereof. I don't know why people do this, but they really just like to run out into the open wilderness, into the open field of grass or the open highway and just bolt. They just go. Like, they go out there full send, and I'm like, why? There's nothing to do out there. I don't really get it myself. You can't really like get many kills from there, and when the mode is King of the Hill, I don't understand the motive to run the opposite direction. So players need to be protected from themselves, and I think that map boundaries will help that. Next up, I have Rig, and I think that this map pulls off verticality pretty well. People don't like it, but I really enjoy it. However, I have had some frame rate issues as of late, as you could probably see in the footage. I'm not really sure why. This hasn't been an issue for me in the past. I've been able to run this map just fine. So, not really sure what the deal is there. It is only Rig, so, but regardless of that, I still enjoy playing on the map. I know people don't like it as much, and I don't think that it's like an amazing perfect map, otherwise it would be S tier, but the game modes work on the map, and it is a competitive map, and despite its size, it still really works. I think that overall, the map adds a good change of pace. Next up, I have Maul, and just like Rig, this map does verticality well, but in a different fashion. The map is definitely more centered towards the top floor on the roof, so it is a battle for the roof, which I really like. I enjoy either side fighting for control of the roof. That is really fun for me. I suppose it might be for other people too. it had a revamp in progress, but that has been scrapped, I guess. Not really sure what happened to it, but I don't really think it needs it. It still functions pretty well, and this map has really grown on me as time has gone on. It wasn't a map that I really like in the past that I was, super in love with. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this is my favorite map, and it definitely isn't that now, but I don't know, I just really enjoy the map still. And other than some weird sightlines, I think that this map is pretty solid. All of the game modes work well in my opinion. And then next up I have C tier. For the first map here I have is Metro, and I have a lot of fun on this map, but it would be higher if it weren't for the spawn killing issues that it has had for a long time now towards the Phantom's side. And while it does happen to the Ghost side as well, it's not as much as far as normal gameplay goes. The Ghost will get spawn killing if team balance is bad, but the Phantoms will get spawn killed, like, even if team balance is not necessarily that bad, because it is so easy to kind of trap people in the Phantom side of the spawn because there's just not that much space, whereas the Ghost side, like, they have a ton of space in the lower part of their spawn area as well as in the upper part. So that definitely plays a factor in my opinion. And then it is just super easy to camp the escalators. So I think that this map would definitely benefit from some kind of drastic changes with it. I don't know, just like get funky with it, I think that you could definitely do some interesting things to change up the way that the map is played. Maybe cut off some of the ways that people travel around the map. So make it so that you cannot just like from the moment you spawn in, run into the enemy team spawn, because you can do that and it kind of disrupts the way that gameplay should go in my opinion. And I think that the underground could be utilized better because that is a lot of open area that kind of just goes untouched in the map. So, if there's something that could make that part of the map used more, that would be welcome in my opinion. But other than that, very fun to play, like I said, and it allows for a good mix of playstyles. So you can snipe on this map, you can do close range. I do shotguns on this map because that's what I enjoy, and I do close range, whereas other people, they like to do the long range stuff. They're sniping. Good mix of playstyles. And then next up, Refinery. And I don't know what it is about this map, but like there's just something kind of off about it to me. I don't know what it is. Like I cannot pinpoint what exactly about this map I don't like. I think it's a good map, but something just feels different from the way the map was before. I don't know if the map has had any updates. It doesn't seem like it has necessarily, but like the spawns just feel different a little bit, and the map kind of flows weird in that like when you gain control of the center area of the map, you kind of like the next area that you would take over is the spawn area, and there's not a lot of like buffer in between that. There's not a lot of space. So like once you take like the hill, for example, you can go straight into the enemy spawn and start killing people. And spawn killing does seem to go both ways on this map, and one side, like the distance they have to go from their spawn to like the central point of the map is a lot more than the distance that the other side has to go to get to the central point of the map. And so that makes it easier to kind of like lock out one side. So like if I have to walk a long way from my spawn to get to the central point of the map, like the enemy team can kind of just post up and shoot me as I try to get to the central point of the map, like where the hill is. I was playing King of the Hill recently, and it was very easy to kind of stop the enemy from advancing out of like their spawn area. But yeah, I think that this map is all right. I enjoy playing on it. I think that it is good fighting over for the central part of the map. I enjoy fighting over that. It is definitely a bloodbath, and with the different ways that you can approach it and you can kind of flank, I think that adds some change up, so I like that. So for the first map that I have in D here, I have Luck, and I have liked older versions of it. It seems that like a version cannot be settled on, like it gets changed, and then for certain game modes it uses different versions of the map, and the community reception for this map was not very good at first. I think that people had lag issues, which may have played into that, but I could never really get why people disliked the map. There were some valid things to say, but some of those arguments that people had really didn't make sense in my opinion. And I think that the map is very fun to play on, and it offers a good mix of combat. And like I said, I like a map where there's a bloodbath and where there's a brawl and there's fighting over the central area and fighting over the penthouse area on the upper floor of the casino. To me is a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing that because you can approach it from so many different ways. So I just enjoy playing on the map. Other people seem not to. However, I still think the map can use some work to put it up higher. Next up, I have Ruins, and this map used to be worse, but the revamps have made it play better in my opinion, but spawn killing is still somewhat of an issue, and I think this happens largely because of the sightlines that exist in the game and the way that the map is structured. And there are so many different maps that also suffer from this problem. So take for example Crane Site, Ravid, Refinery, and Ruins here of the maps that I have mentioned, Maul as well, Rig. There are so many maps that have this problem where you are able to take an elevated position and then shoot down into the enemy spawn because the enemies do not have enough cover to get out of their spawn. So on Ruins, for example, I can get up onto the rafters, or I don't know what you would call that, the kind of very large balconies, and then I can hop up on the window and I can just shoot into the enemy spawn, and they have very little cover to avoid my bullets, and I don't know why that is. Those windows need to be removed in my opinion. Like, just get rid of them. Like, they don't really help. And then as far as like at the very back of the cathedral is what I'll call it, where the like central balcony is, like the gray one, not the wooden one. There are access points to either side there, and you can sit there and you can shoot the enemies as they run out of their spawn area, because like I said, there's not a lot of cover once you're getting out of there, and the sightlines are just too overpowered in my opinion. So to try and fix this, I would maybe extend the portion of the cathedral that are like actual building portions, so like extend it laterally so that more cover can be had, or if you don't extend the building portion, like add some kind of like obstruction of the sightline to stop people from just spraying into the spawn. It should have to be like a risk to go spawn kill. So if I want to go kill people in their spawn, I have to go to their spawn. I shouldn't be able to just like sit up on a perch and just shoot down. And like I said, this isn't the only map that suffers from this. Refinery, Maul, Rig, Highway to a degree, Ravid, Crane Site, these maps all suffer from the elevated point just shooting into the enemy spawn. Other maps that also suffer from this are Suburbia, Dunes, and Mirage, and I will get to those maps shortly. Next up, I have Locker, and I definitely preferred the older version to this. That one just worked way better to me. This new one, I feel like, was unnecessary. I think that you could have changed some things up with the old version for sure, but like the new version is just like not very good to me. And even though it is essentially like the same map, the new revamp just like doesn't, I don't really know how to explain it. It just doesn't play the same. It's not the same fast-paced map. It feels more drawn out as far as combat goes, and I liked how on the older version of Locker, say on King of the Hill, you could really battle for it, and it was back and forth, and it was like difficult to take, but with enough teamwork where you could do it. This new version feels kind of individual, if that makes any sense. There's less like playing off of my teammates and like taking control of the map. We all feel very like individual, like people are running around the map, but the way that I'm running around the map is like different than the other area that people are running around the map. So like our map control as a team just like is disjointed. And then in the E category, I first have Blizzard, and this map to me is both simple and chaotic at the same time. So the layout of the map to me is rather simple and the way that like cover is laid out, I feel like is not necessarily done with care, I guess. Like it's like, oh, I will put cover here because I need to put cover here because it's an open area, but like the structure of the map doesn't really help dictate how it's played, in my opinion. You kind of just like spawn in either of the 4 corners of the map and then run towards the center. The map kind of lacks complexity, in my opinion. And then for me, it is chaotic in the sense that like the sightlines are pretty big from certain areas, especially from like the ends of the map. Like there are buildings that you can snipe from, and you can have a pretty like good sightline for people running. I do like this new version better than the previous one, but something to me is just like not working with this map. And like I said, it feels simple. It doesn't feel very complex, in my opinion. And so I think I would like to see the map like changed up a bit, tidied up a bit, because like I said, I don't really like the sightlines in this map, and the build, it is just 4 corners with the way that the buildings are set up. So I wish that maybe in that sense, like there was something like different with that, like the buildings were maybe more distributed across the map. The map does seem kind of tiny while playing on it compared to the older version, which definitely seemed like more spaced out. I like that the bridge is kind of a central point that we're fighting over. While I like this version better than the previous one, I think that for improving the map and like changing it up as far as like the structure of it, I think that that would be more easily done with the older version. So like I don't really know where to go with the map right now because of the way that it is already. Like it seems almost difficult to change it in certain ways because of its size and the way the map is. So I would like to see this map get touched a bit, but I can't think of like the best course of action to do that. Overall, I just think this map needs a lot of work for me to be satisfied with it, because like I said, it doesn't feel like there's a huge amount of direction for this map. Next up, I have Suburbia, and this map is kind of similar to Blizzard in that it is also linear. I think past iterations of this map were better, and right now it feels kind of tight feeling, if that makes any sense. I don't know if other people feel that way, but I kind of feel that when I'm playing the map. Spawn killing seems to happen often on this map, regardless of team balance sometimes. And like I mentioned with Ruins, like you can just like sit in a building and like shoot people as they're walking out of their spawn. And this map does have some more cover for coming out of the spawns, I'll give you that. But people, like it's hard to get people to leave the spawn buildings for some reason. And I don't like the way that people like while sniping. I get it, people like to snipe, but they like sit in their spawn building and they snipe from that. And so they're not really like helping their team get much map control, if that makes any sense. Same with sitting on the rooftop. It stagnates gameplay in my opinion, and they have a very massive sightline. Yeah, I wish that maybe something was done to change that. I know people love to snipe, but in my opinion, it doesn't work for this map. You don't have to snipe on every map. Like, pick up an assault rifle for once, it's okay. If I could tell my old self anything, it would be that. So I think that for this map, it has had like past iterations, multiple, and something just isn't working. I think that to a degree, a map being symmetrical definitely like can harm it. And I think that maybe this map and Ruins kind of suffer from that. So I think that maybe for this map, reverting back to an older version and then altering the map from there would be beneficial. And I do have fun on this map, I just don't think it's a very great map. Moving on to Warehouse. Being able to wall bang everything is fun to an extent. The map has different versions for different modes, but regardless of the version, spawn killing still seems to happen often on this map. And I get it, it's probably pretty easy when you don't even have to engage with the enemy to spawn kill. I can just like wall bang them to spawn kill them. Like, it's not very hard at all. Like, I definitely think it's fun to wall bang people, but it's a bit much at times for this map. So I think that maybe having a mix of buildings would benefit the map. And then as well on certain iterations of this map, like certain versions, I don't know what mode it is for exactly. I think the King of the Hill Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirmed version, the map, like, in certain parts of it feels so open. And when the map feels so open and then the only cover you have is like wall bangable, it makes the map like, I don't know, like I feel uneasy on the map, if that makes any sense. And so, yeah, I just wish the map had more cover at certain points. I just don't think it's very good and it just doesn't play that well in my opinion. And then finally, moving on to F tier, the bottom of the bucket here. I have Mirage first, and people are gonna hate me for this one. I don't see anyone ever praise this map, but people vote for it like crazy. Like, I don't know what it is. This map is just a really popular map to vote for, and I have a feeling that's for the sniping. But I think that you can have a sniping map or snipe on a map without having to settle for a bad map. The map, in my opinion, just doesn't really work. I like the concept, but I think that the map is too big, and it often leads to stale or stagnant gameplay, especially for certain modes like King of the Hill, Flare Domination, Kill Confirmed, Capture the Flag even. Like, when people are so reluctant to leave the safety of the buildings on this map, it's like these modes just do not work, in my opinion. And like I mentioned before with the other maps, being able to sit from an elevated position and just shoot into the enemy spawn happens too much on this map. The sightlines just don't have any, like, there's no, like, it doesn't seem like there's been much to do to, like, fix the sightlines for this map. And oftentimes, while we are playing the map, it will go the full 15 minutes. And even on, like, a full server, the full 15 minutes, it will run. And I just, like, I don't find this map all that fun to play on. I love sniping. Like, sniping is, I love it so much, but I cannot bear to play this map sometimes when it is as slow as it is. Like I said, you can have a sniping map, but don't settle for a bad map. So yeah, best course of action for this map in my opinion, scale it down, change the buildings a bit, and block off certain sightlines, because some of these sightlines are just like someone spawns in, they walk a couple studs, and then they get shot. Like, it's just not, some of the sightlines just don't work. And then last, and definitely least, we have dunes. And this map was meant to be replaced, and the replacement for that map is in the game. But for some reason, dunes is still here, and I don't get it, because a majority of the time I play this map, it is spawn killing, like I mentioned before, shooting from an elevated position from safety pretty much into the enemy spawn, and trapping the enemy. It feels very open at times, trying to get from your spawn buildings to the part of the map that, like, you can really play on and, like, get map control. It's hard to do that when you're getting spawn killed by a bunch of snipers. And like I said, you can have a sniping map without settling for a bad map. I will continue to say that because I don't want to play on bad maps. I think it needs a lot of work to be viable, and it just doesn't play well in my opinion. I think that a pretty drastic layout change is needed with adequate cover and whatnot for the sides, and I think that you could do so much with this map given the concept of, like, sand dunes and buildings that are, like, covered by the dunes, and then buildings that are not, and then, you know, emerging from the dunes and then battling it out. But that's not really what the map is at the moment. It's just a lot of shooting from an elevated standpoint into the spawn. But yeah, that's just what I noticed about these maps, and that's just what I think could be improved. I could have gone into a lot more detail here, but I didn't want to make the video like crazy long. This video is probably going to be pretty long as it is, so if you watched the whole way, like, props to you. And definitely let me know what you think. What would your ranking look like? Do you have anything different than mine? If so, what is that? I am most definitely sure that nobody has an identical list to me. But yeah, that is all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.